I like to think that I know a thing or two when it comes to full-size luxury SUVs. Being a full-size individual myself, these are the vehicles that I really gravitate towards when it comes to what I want to drive. Today we're taking a look at the refreshed 2025 Lincoln Navigator Reserve all-wheel drive. Now, the big news for this generation here in Canada was the addition of the black label, the trim that we never got up here, but was the exclusive top-end, sort of bespoke version available for most vehicles in the United States. This one's not. This is still the Reserve. Would have been nice if Ford had given us the new one, but anyway, we're going to be going over what has changed with this 5th generation vehicle, including how this stacks up compared to vehicles like the Cadillac Escalade as well as the Infiniti QX80. Now, it's been since 2018 since I drove the Navigator first. We did do one about a year ago, comparing it to the Grand Wagoneer, but it was just like a slight refresh. This is the first time in 7 years that the vehicle has had a full ground-up rework on it. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how it stacks up, as this is priced at about $130,000 Canadian or $107,000 in the US, and everything else you need to know if you're in the market for this. Starting off, we are finished in the Starlight Gray Metallic paint before you ask, so let's get started. Now, you don't need to be a Lincoln Navigator connoisseur to know that this is the refreshed model. You won't mistake it for the older ones at all. This design adopts the new language that's used across the board from the new Nautilus and Aviator. We also get the new front grille with integrated light bar that runs into the center Lincoln Star. I think it looks pretty sharp. It's a very good take on how this design language can be adopted into a larger vehicle. And again, like I said, you'll never mistake it for an older Navigator. Under the hood is the very familiar 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 EcoBoost engine, producing 440 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque. It's the same engine that's been in the Navigator for quite some time now. But if it works, right? And I mean, it's not like Ford's come out with anything else that they could put under the hood of this thing. We do have the adaptive suspension with continuously controlled damping, and with the heavy-duty towing package that we have here, you can tow up to 8,700 pounds. Now, I did just drive the Cadillac Escalade IQ immediately before getting this. While it is an electric vehicle, the Escalades in general do have the Magnetic Ride Control System 4, along with the Air Ride suspension, obviously, depending on which trim you go with, but it's not something that you can get here. So, I mean, if you're spending $130,000 Canadian, you kind of want to have those extra luxury features on a full-size SUV, more so than just continuously controlled damping. Now, around back is where the Navigator gets the biggest refresh. This adopts the new design that Ford has come up with the split tailgate. So you can open it from your key fob, and then you can push the button to get the bottom part. And you can also set up whether or not you want both to open or just one, depending on how you set it up. Now, the split tailgate is great if you've got a lot of cargo back there that might have shifted around while you were driving, allowing you to keep that bottom portion in the upright position until you've gotten yourself back there to make sure nothing's moved. Then you can open it if you want, or keep it closed and still be able to load things in and out. The only thing, though, as I was filming a lot of the B-roll for this, I got some Pontiac Aztec vibes from the back end of this thing. Let me know what you think. But aside from that, the Lincoln Embrace welcoming sequence is a light show, both on the front and back of the vehicle, that sequence the LED lights as you're approaching the vehicle. With the rear end, it starts from the center, works its way out, but then also illuminates the 3D badging that lights up the Lincoln badge at the back of the vehicle, which I think is a nice touch, allowing people to know that it is a Lincoln no matter what time of day you're driving it. And I also like that the Lincoln stars are laser etched into the back panel of the light bar area here. So nice little design touches here. Again, you'll never mistake this for the old generation Lincoln Navigator. Now, Lincoln says that they wanted to create a spa on wheels when it came to this vehicle, and it really aligns with their design philosophy and their overall company philosophy, as they don't really care about sportiness, they don't care about performance. Lincoln is a brand that is meant to be comfortable and quiet and relaxing as you get driven or drive around in, and it really continues with the Navigator. First off, up front, we have the 48-inch panoramic display. They don't call it pillar to pillar because it doesn't actually go to the sides of the A-pillars. There's speaker grills in the sides there, but 48 inches is pretty big. We also have the 11.1-inch control panel just below that. So you can control a lot of the things on the screen from that lower display. There's a little bit of redundancy because I've got my map and I've got my XM radio going, and both of those things are displayed on the top as well. We have heated, ventilated, massaging, and memory seats up front, and they are the perfect position seats as you would expect to have on the Navigator. Now, the second row back here, we do have a lot of controls. We can adjust, we can massage, heat, and ventilate. There's also a chauffeur mode to get rid of the front seat. These are things that we expect to find now in this segment. It's something that the Cadillac Escalade took up until really this generation to be able to add, and this isn't really that expensive an option. You still have to add it to get that rear seat package, but well worth it if you're going to be driven in. But I can tell you, even my 11-year-old daughter really appreciates having ventilated seats after a long day at school. Now, there are a couple things that I want to talk about that are misses as far as I'm concerned when it comes to the interior on this vehicle. Much like when we did the Ford Expedition first drive a couple months ago, Ford has gotten rid of the steering wheel. Now, I know what you're thinking, Nile. I can clearly see on the B-roll that there is a steering wheel. But if you look closely, and you don't have to look too closely, it's not a circle. And that is the predefined requisite of what a wheel is. It needs to be a circle. It is a steering oval, and while I didn't mind it as much on my first drive with the Expedition, I'm not enjoying it as much with this Navigator driving it day to day. If the vehicle had true steering responsive steering, where if you're on the highway you only have to turn a little bit, and then if you're in like a parking lot you turn a little bit more but it can do a full circle, that would be fine, but it doesn't. I have to do like 3 full rotations when I make a turn from a cross street onto, like, say, my street. And because it's not a circle, it's just really awkward when you're making those turns. So we'll show you on the road test how it is, but I understood why they did it with the Expedition because the screen setup was different, but with this one, the screens are kind of normal. We could have had a regular steering wheel. There's also no head-up display. Now, that's partially because the panoramic screen there is so close to the front of the windshield that you really couldn't fit one. We're also missing things like a digital rear-view mirror. Again, competition all has that. Cadillac's had it for a while now. Even the Infiniti QX80 I will have next week has a digital rear-view mirror. So Lincoln, come on. I mean, at this point and this price point, it should be something that comes on it. And there's no soft close doors. I mean, again, at $130,000 Canadian, I'm not expecting automatic doors like you can get on the Escalade, but soft close, again, is one of those kind of basic features that I would expect when spending this amount of money. Now, you do get a couple extra goodies that you don't get on the Escalade. We do have the digital scent system, so there's 3 pre-loaded scents that you can have go through the vehicle. They smell pretty good. I actually like them quite a bit. But aside from that, though, I mean, there's nothing that this vehicle does that any of the competition doesn't do. And while I do enjoy driving it, I don't need the performance and sportiness that you might get on some other vehicles. I just think that there needs to be a little bit more at this price point to truly make it worthwhile. Because at this point, you might as well just get an Expedition and save yourself some money. But let's take this on the road. We'll talk about how it is to drive, ride, and everything else about it, and my final thoughts on whether or not you should consider the Lincoln Navigator for 2025. All right, so we're on the road now in the 2025 Lincoln Navigator. Let's talk fuel efficiency first. We completed our 100-kilometer test loop in the new location here. In the conserve mode, so it does use a little bit less gas, completed it in 11.7 liters per 100 kilometers, which isn't terrible overall. I'm averaging quite a bit more at this point. Let's see. See, here's the problem, right? When you want to go in to go do this stuff, you have to, like, I don't even know where it is. Anyway, I don't even need that. Let's just put on our digital scent because I like it. I like the smells. It's more like 14 or 15 liters per 100 kilometers right now, which, again, is not great. But for a full-size body-on-frame SUV, it's not out of the ordinary. So if I could get the Escalade, the real one, not the IQ, then I'd be able to test it again. But the whole reason why I booked this in between the Escalade IQ and the Infiniti QX80 was to be able to compare the 3 major full-size luxury SUVs that we have access to at the moment, back to back to back. So I'll tell you how the Infiniti is by comparison. But yeah, I mean, it's a good drive. It's smooth enough on the road. One of the complaints I had about the Escalade IQ last week was maybe because of the weight of the vehicle, it would almost create like flat spots on the tires if they were sitting for a day. And I don't feel that with this. So the ride is pretty decent. You know, it would have been nicer if it had an air ride, especially to be able to lower the vehicle. Not that it's too high, but, you know, just one of those things that you would like to have, especially if your garage is a little tight. You want to have a little bit of extra ground, you know, not ground clearance, but height clearance, really. So yeah, again, at this price point, spending this kind of money, these are kind of things I'd like to look for. But the ride's fine. Interior quiet, absolutely great. No issues there. It is quite a bit quieter than you would find on, obviously, other vehicles. But I'd say compared to the Expedition, this just takes a little bit better. So it is quieter in here. And then the space isn't too bad. One of the complaints that I'm pretty sure I had in 2018, and I know when we talked about it when Victor and I did the comparison with the Grand Wagoneer, was height, right? I'm as low as the seat can go. I do have a tiny bit of space now. Before, I think it was like really tight back seats though. I should have mentioned it when I was back there, but I had to lean back a little bit because if I'm seated in a comfortable upright position, I'm hitting the headliner. So yeah, height is still not ideal when it comes to the Navigator, unfortunately. Now, interior tech is fine. You know, most of it's kind of set it and forget it, so I like having most of the information there. You can see there's my trip I was looking for. There's too much screen real estate, right? So I forgot that it was there. 14.5 is what we're averaging at the moment. But I've got, you know, my weather, the music, even though it's something I can see here. I've got the map, even though it's something I can see here. Yeah, it's functional. It works fine. I haven't had any issues with it. I'm also not using Apple CarPlay because you do have built-in Google Maps, so I find that works just a little bit better for my personal needs. But obviously having wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is fine. We do have a wireless phone charger as well. I finally upgraded. I have an iPhone 17 Pro now, so my wireless phone charger works. It broke on my old 12, so I wasn't able to test it. It keeps the charge. I wouldn't say it necessarily charges it up fully, especially if it's like 80% or higher. It doesn't get too hot, but I do find that it really has to be seated in the exact specific position it needs to be in for it to work. But we do have some USB-C ports throughout, so that's fine. But you know, again, if we look back to the Escalade, and I know that it was $200,000 Canadian, it's a lot more, they had 4 wireless phone chargers, and they were slide-in ones where, you know, no matter what, you put it in and it works. So there's a couple key features when it comes to the Escalade that just does it better. And then, you know, overall looks, I do like the look of this, but really nothing looks the way that an Escalade looks. It just really does the trick, right? So, but good job, Lincoln. I mean, this is a very needed refresh for the Navigator, but, you know, it depends on what your personal taste is. Now we're going to take a turn here. Look, I got to turn the wheel, I got to turn the wheel, I got to turn... Oh, wait, it's not a wheel, it's an oval, right? It's just not convenient. I've been driving it all week, and I'm still not really comfortable with it. I would prefer a wheel. And again, the way that this is set up, at least compared to the Expedition, I don't find that you need to have the oval. I feel that a steering wheel would have been fine. It wouldn't be cutting off anything that's important. At least the way that I'm seated, it would have been fine. And I guess the only good thing, I mean, this is literally the first car in... How long have I been doing this now? 10 years that I've been doing, you know, new car stuff, or 8 years now that I've been doing it. First time I have ever had the steering wheel lower than the absolute highest position it can go. So maybe there's something going on there, but I mean, it's fine. Buttons, not a big fan of either, but you get used to it where there are actually no real controls on the steering wheel. You push the button and then it'll tell you what those invisible buttons will do. They work most of the time. But I did have a couple of issues going into a car wash, for example, trying to get the mirrors to fold. So a couple little things like that, but that's fine. Aside from that, though, I mean, like, you're buying this because you want a comfortable, quiet experience when you're driving around town, going back and forth to work, whatever it may be. You want to have maybe 4 or 5 additional people in the vehicle. I think it'll be comfortable enough. Does the Escalade do a better job? Yes, it does. But to get effectively a well-loaded Escalade, what is it, like a premium now, or like a platinum, not the sport platinum like we usually get, but like the middle of the road one here in Canada is about $154,000 roughly. So I mean, it's a big price difference, right? $24,000 between the two vehicles. So you're saving money by going with the Lincoln, but you do lose out on some of those key features, and at least those are the key features that I feel you should have if you're buying a, you know, really well-equipped full-size luxury SUV, right? This should be pushing the envelope for what Lincoln is able to offer, and I feel that it doesn't. I feel that it's an update from the previous one, but I feel with Cadillac, at least specifically since we just drove it, they have really taken this new generation Escalade and made it a whole lot better, whereas Lincoln has taken, the previous generation and they've improved on it, because realistically, this is more of a facelift. I know they call it a 5th generation, but it is more of a facelift, as this is still using the same platform. It's using the same engine. Most of the same, engineering components are in this vehicle. Even the body is more or less the same with some revisions. So they call it a new generation. So will we, but just keep that in mind. It is a nicer version of what they had before. But if you're really shopping between them, you got to take a look at pricing. You got to take a look at what's on the market. And I got to say that there is some excellent competition now in this segment, which is why we're going to be doing the Infiniti QX80 next, because I think it will be a pretty compelling buy. And that's the one that we're getting, at least, is priced at like $127, so a little bit less. But as always, if you have any questions about this vehicle, whether it's the vehicle itself, buying advice, things like that, or you just want to chat with us here on Test Drive, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure you get into the comments. We do try to get back to everybody as often as we can. It's just been a little hectic here on the channel over the last little while, but we will get back to you eventually. We also invite you to subscribe, because we know that most of you are not subscribers. It's like 94% of you are not subscribers. So it's free. Just click the button, hit it. Make sure that you get subscribed so you can see the latest videos that we're doing. It also helps us immensely. We want to get those numbers. We want to be able to get to 100,000 subscribers. So that'll be it for me. If you have any questions, let us know. But until next time, thanks for watching and take care.